皆さんこんにちは。救世主ゴーシンです。この動画では地理学者が警告 3I アトラス11月5日6日がやばいという内容をお届けいたします。巷にあふれる 3I アトラスに関する AI が生成していると思われるフェイクニュースとは異なり、しっかりとしたソースを提示しながらですね、皆さんに全世界の YouTuber であったり NASA、ESA、国際小惑星警報ネットワークなど最新情報を随時更新してまいります。さあ、今回はですね、こちらででんステファン・バーンズさんという、YouTuber さんがいらっしゃいますが、彼は地理学者です。彼の運営する YouTube では 53.8 万人の登録者を誇り、ソースのしっかりとした情報が流されています。今日は彼の動画を皆さんと一緒に見ながらですね、11月の5日、6日が地球に対して太陽からの CME が届き、非常にまずい状態になるというお話をします。ステファン・バーンズさんの動画は、長尺でですね、27分ぐらいあったんですけど、今回必要な動画の部分15分ぐらいです。再生速度一応普通のまま流しますので、皆さんちょっと遅いなと思ったら再生速度を 1.25 倍程度にしてお楽しみください。そして動画の途中で私が日本の視聴者の皆様のために分かりやすくまとめさせていただきますので、ぜひリラックスして最後までご視聴ください。このチャンネルのチャンネルを登録していただき、さらにグッドボタン、そしてハイプボタンをぜひ押してください。1週間に3回まで押すことができるんですけど、そのハイプがたまると多くの方にこの動画が拡散される仕組みになっています。そうすると私はこの 3I アトラスにさらに集中することができて、更新の頻度も高まりますので、ぜひご協力よろしくお願いいたします。さあ、それでは早速動画一緒に見てまいりましょう。ででん。
Hey everyone, geophysicist Stefan Burns here. Breaking news, we finally have visual confirmation of interstellar object 3I Atlas since its closest approach to Mars. Now, shortly after that close approach to Mars, back around October 3rd, the European Space Agency released the imagery that they got from their different probes orbiting around the red planet. And that confirmed that 3I Atlas was in the position that we expected, and it didn't perform any sort of O-berth maneuver using the gravitational assist from Mars. But then things have gone completely dark, you could say, as it relates to 3I Atlas, because in fact it's been blinded by the light of the sun. It's been basically impossible to observe 3I Atlas because of the strong glare, it passing behind the sun. It did that superior conjunction as viewed from Earth on October 21st. And well, I was talking about how we may be able to see 3I Atlas in our coronagraph imagery, which allows us to see the solar wind flowing around the sun and any solar storms that launch. We've had 3 big coronal mass ejections launched from the far side of the sun towards 3I Atlas based on its expected orbital trajectory and its vector of direction. And well, it turns out we can barely spot 3I Atlas in the coronagraph imagery. And so we have confirmation that 3I Atlas is still in the expected position based off of its ephemeris data and all the astronomical observations that were made of it back in July, August, and September. So as of right now, it's behaving totally normal as it relates to its movement through the solar system based off of its speed and its trajectory. It's going to accelerate to a maximum of 68 kilometers per second for its perihelion, its closest approach to the sun on October 29th. So this interstellar object, as of this moment in time, is accelerating to its maximum speed. If it is any sort of unique, maybe alien or technological craft, and it wanted to do an orbital trajectory change, that is when we'd expect it to perform an O-berth maneuver. I personally do not think that is likely. I don't think it's an alien craft or technology. I think it's a very unique interstellar object that's interacting with our solar system in energetic ways. We saw 3.
はい、ここで一旦止めましょう。はい、ここまでを簡単にまとめます。こちら、ででん。3回大きな CME が 3I アトラスへ放出されたということを言っています。これは太陽によるコロナ質量放出のことを指しています。太陽からプラズマの塊が宇宙空間に放出される現象のことです。太陽フレアという太陽が爆発する現象があるんですけど、その爆発現象によって発生し、 地球に到達すると地磁気嵐などの宇宙天気の異常が起こります。人工衛星とか通信に影響が出るんですね。で、この画像に映っているこの丸いところから青いオーラみたいのが出てるじゃないですか。これがコロナグラフという画像なんです。真ん中の丸いのが太陽です。そこから太陽からバーって出てるプラズマであったりとかフレアの爆発だったりっていうものが見れるようになっているんですね。それでは続き参りましょう。
Three big coronal mass ejections launched back to back to back directly to 3I Atlas. So it is short-circuiting the sun due to its close proximity, due to its large size. That is the bigger story here. And those sunspot groups, we don't know what's been happening with them. We had some large sunspots on the Earth-facing side, which are now the ones responsible on the far side that are blasting 3I Atlas with all this energy. If they rotate back to Earth facing, they could be quite large if they don't die out. And their alignment with Earth facing direct is going to be right around the supermoon, the biggest and brightest full moon of the year. So November 5th, November 6th is looking quite dynamic, and perhaps 3I Atlas is fueling the growth of those sunspots because we've seen 3 big coronal mass ejections from the far side now, and we may get that to continue. Here we have our CC01 coronagraph view of the sun from the GOES 19 satellite in geostationary orbit. And we use these sort of coronagraphs to see what's happening with the sun in terms of solar wind outflows and solar storm launches. It's a space weather forecasting tool. You'll see the stars in the background. See these fixed points of light? Those are the background stars. They're moving because this is fixed on the sun and we're rotating around the sun. This red circle is put around 3I Atlas. This news, this observation of 3I Atlas in the GOES 19 CCOR1 view was first put out by amateur astronomer Worchate Boomplod. He's from Thailand. He's discovered a bunch of comets in chronograph imagery across the years. And he took the raw data and processed it and found 3I Atlas in its expected location back on the 18th, 19th of October. And once I saw that, I went ahead and downloaded the past 7 days, and I was able to locate 3I Atlas specifically on the edges of the chronograph. We see the zoomed in view there. It's very faint. I was super punched in Premiere Pro and tracking this thing, but you will notice that it is moving faster than the normal retrograde motion of the stars because 3I Atlas is also moving retrograde. So it's moving the direction of the night sky as viewed from Earth, but it's moving at its own velocity about 66, 67 kilometers per second right now. Again, its perihelion will be 68 kilometers per second at the end of October. And then we see it picked up again here. So this fits right in line with where we expect 3I Atlas to be based off of its orbital trajectory and just all the positional data that we have for it. And we see this very faint object show up in the CCR1 chronograph. Its magnitude, its apparent magnitude is about 11 or 10. So it's quite faint, but it is bright enough to pick up on the chronograph. So I was talking about this possibility in some videos and live streams earlier on. I didn't think it was a high likelihood. I'm glad that I was wrong because here it is. And this allows us to confirm that as of right now, everything is proceeding normally with 3I Atlas as it relates to its orbital maneuvering. It's not undergoing any sort of significant acceleration or deceleration or changing its trajectory. There's a bunch of misinformation out there on that. If you look, people say that it's now heading towards the Earth or doing this big maneuver change. There's no evidence of that. This chronograph imagery effectively dispels all of that. What's more interesting in my mind are these huge coronal mass ejections that you see the sun has launched during this pretty close approach of 3I Atlas and that exact alignment with the Earth, the Moon, the Sun, and 3I Atlas, the superior conjunction on the 21st of October. So we'll watch this chronograph repeat and you'll see that things are fairly quiet and calm. Then we had these sunspots start to rotate to the far side. They're on the limb. You can see that they're pumping out quite a bit every now and then. But then we get this really big coronal mass ejection on the 21st. You'll see the moon swing in here. Right now it's the 20th. It's all universal time. So see how they're really starting to pump out plasma now? Look at that. It's getting bigger and bigger. we see the moon swing in for the new moon. There it is. And check out this gigantic coronal mass ejection that launches right after this. Boom shakalaka. That is a big coronal mass ejection, one of the largest of this solar cycle. About 24 hours later, we get another big coronal mass ejection right there. Boom shakalaka. And then again, another 24 hours later, we get a third big coronal mass ejection right there. We may get a fourth one, but notice that 3I Atlas at that time was nearly in perfect alignment with the sun as viewed from Earth, and it's getting closer and closer to the sun, its perihelion being about 1.36 astronomical units away from the sun. 1 AU for reference is the distance from the Earth to the sun on average. So it's quite close, it's quite large. The minimum size estimate seems to have coalesced around 5 kilometers. The maximum diameter for 3I Atlas we expect is about 50 kilometers, much larger than Oumuamua.
はい、ここで一回止めましょう。皆さん、今の映像の中で赤い丸がこう動いているのをご覧になりましたか？あの赤い丸が 3I アトラスです。で、光のですね、その等級でいうと10等級から11等級ぐらいだからかなり暗いけど、このコロナグラフで一応観察できるぐらいには明るいという話をしていました。で、その太陽からの、爆発というか CME ですね、コロナ質量放出がかなり大きな爆発で、その 3I アトラスの方向に向かって放出された、3回放出されたということを話しています。で、もしもですね、今の状態のままこう太陽が回ってきて、地球の方に向いた時に CME が発生した場合に地球が大変になるよっていうことなんです。それがですね、地球が正面を向くのは1年で最も大きく明るい満月のスーパームーンの頃、これが11月の5日、もしくは6日というふうに言われています。ステファン・バーンズさんは大幅な加減速は起きていない、軌道の変化もないというふうにこの動画の中でお話しされています。いろんなですね、その AI 関係が勝手にシナリオを書いたであろうフェイクニュースっていうのがあるんだよ、地球に向かってるんだよとか、大きく位置を変えたとかですね、そういったものはこのコロナグラフからは確認することができないというふうにリアルなお話をしています。それでは続き参りましょう。
Two interstellar objects picked up in 2017, 2019, and we also saw similar activity with Oumuamua in 2017. Its perihelion was September 9th. We saw two big double-digit X-class flares, the strongest of solar cycle 24, bounded on each side of that perihelion, and we had the biggest earthquake of 2017 the day before the perihelion in Oumuamua, and we're seeing this play out again just as we started to forecast going all the way back to July and August here on the channel. We expected big solar activity around this critical time window of the superior conjunction through perihelion, and well, we got it. Now, those of you who watch my channel know my position on 3I Atlas, but there seems to be a really strong polarization of opinion as to what the heck this thing is. On one side, people are like, it's 100% a comet, and on the other side, people are saying it's 100% aliens that they're coming to invade. Meanwhile, I'm like, it's an interstellar object because it has a lot of characteristics that do not match up with normal cometary behavior. It's the third ever interstellar object observed. We don't know from what sort of system it's from or how long it's been traveling deep space. It could be billions of years. And so it has a very unique makeup and energy to it that is quite a bit different than that of our solar system. So I don't think you can just put the label of comet on it. And I personally don't think it's aliens, though it provides a useful exercise to go through, like, well, okay, what should we do if it is aliens? And we should track this thing very closely. We shouldn't be just kicking back and relaxing. We should be very alert and active and aware as to what is happening with this. It provides a wonderful research opportunity to see what we should expect and to learn about the early origin and formation of the universe, or perhaps our local interstellar cluster or more. Well, here we have data showing the evolution of 3I Atlas, and at the beginning, July 2nd, you see that top left corner, we see its nucleus and coma. The brightest pixel is represented by that red dot. And you see those streaks, basically they stacked a composite of images and the stars streak out because they centered 3I Atlas in those images. And you see that it has a little bit of a sunward facing tail. So there's a bit of a push in the coma facing the sun, and it maintained that until about August. So we see that there's a bit more of its coma pushing towards the sun in July, and then in August and September, it started to form a tail, but it's nothing like the tail that we've been seeing from comets like C2025 A6 Lemon, which right now is putting on a fantastic show for astronomers around the world, and it is visible right now in the night sky. So you can go out there, if you have good skies in the evening, northern hemisphere, you may be able to see A6 Lemon with your bare eyes, though I would definitely bring a pair of binoculars to get a better sense, or even a telescope if you have one. But it's certainly not displaying a lot of the normal characteristics of a comet from our solar system, or what we hypothesize being the Oort cloud surrounding our solar system. Has the deepest negative polarization curve ever observed. It has a very odd nickel to iron ratio, has a whole bunch of anomalies to it. I've explained it many times on the channel. So it's a completely unique thing. We don't know what it is. We don't know its density. We have a little bit of information on its chemical composition, but a lot of data has yet to be released from NASA, ESA, and other agencies, specifically from its close flyby of Mars. We were supposed to get a bunch of data from that. Well, it hasn't been publicly released. That's a good question to ask. Instead, they have put out an alert with the International Asteroid Warning Network to observe 3I Atlas from November to December, for amateur astronomers and professionals alike to do so. That's a little strange and bizarre. So the good thing though about
はい、ここで一旦止めます。今の部分のまとめです。こちら、3I アトラスのサイズは最小の規模で 5km から最大で 50km の大きさを持つだろうというふうに話をしていて、オームアムアとかボリソフ彗星に比べて非常に大きいということを言っています。今までのお話では 19km ぐらいのサイズだよっていう話だったんですよね。ですから、そこの間に入ってますけれども、もしも 50km の最大値であった場合にかなりでかいですよね。で、このステファンは、彗星ではなくエイリアンでもないと考えています。彗星にしたらおかしいし、かといって私個人的にはエイリアンの可能性はないというふうに思っているというふうに話しています。これはあくまで彼の個人的な見解です。で、先ほどのその 3I アトラスのですね、6枚の画像かな。中心の、核っぽいところからコマが広がっているところですね。その核に対してのコマの広がり方っていうのを7月の1日から8月にかけてですね、9月までかな、時系列を追って画像が出ています。この画像もよくですね、他のチャンネルとかでも紹介されてはいると思うんですけど、この写真の意味なんです。7月の、1日とか最初の頃っていうのは、その 3I アトラスの核の部分から放出されているコマが要するにアンチテールの状態だったというふうに言っている、前方の方に太陽の方に向けて出ているというふうにステファンさんも話しています。で、そこから徐々にですね8月に入っていって9月になっていくと反対側に向けて尾が出てきた、普通の彗星のような状態になってきたから尾の方向が変わってきてるんじゃないかというような内容をしている。だけど尾が少し出てきてるんだけどレモン彗星のような長い尾とは完全に違うというふうに話をしています。そして鉄がないニッケルのこの組成、いつも話されてますよね、いろんなチャンネルで。こういった化学組成は奇妙である。そして NASA や ESA の情報が更新されない中、その代わりに国際小惑星警報ネットワークがそのグループと共同でアマチュア天文家たちに一緒に観測しようというふうに警報が出されている。これは非常に奇妙なことなんだということを話しています。ですからエイリアンじゃないと思うけど、それでもやっぱり普通の彗星とはおかしいし、なんかおかしいんだ、分かんないことが多すぎるんだということを話しています。さあ、ここからはですね、太陽と地球と月が一直線上になる、そしてその 3I アトラスの影響による地球への影響の話に入ります。
About this footage from the CCOR1 coronagraph is that it confirms it is still along its normal orbital trajectory that we have calculated based off of the astronomical observations that we made of it from its initial discovery July 1st all the way up to when we lost sight of it around October 3rd. Now, a quick space weather update for you is that there has been some Earth-facing solar activity that appears to result in space weather headed our way. There have been some plasma filaments that have destabilized. NOAA has modeled some of them. We see this sweeping by the Earth, a flank impact around the 27th, 28th of October. So looks like we're going to go into unsettled and active geomagnetic conditions as a result of that. There's been a tremendous amount of activity on the far side launched towards 3I Atlas, really specifically towards Venus. The two of them both kind of near each other at this moment in time. And what's interesting about that is we're going to have this more disturbed geomagnetic activity going into the perihelion of 3I Atlas, and then each day that goes forward, those sunspots, which have been blasting off huge coronal mass ejections, will rotate closer and closer back to Earth facing. And now they could kind of, disappear and go away. They could maintain where they are. They could get bigger and stronger, but they've been very active. So we could have some monster sunspots rotating into view around the perihelion of 3I Atlas and in early November. And then if that is the case, they will be basically lining up Earth-centered direct bullseye around the biggest supermoon of the year. And that's important because this is a full moon. So not only is this a supermoon where the moon is closest to Earth in its orbit as perigee, this is a full moon, and full moons are positioned behind the Earth, so you have a Sun-Earth-Moon alignment, meaning that the moon is in Earth's magnetic field in the magnetotail, and that in general creates greater geomagnetic disturbances. Not by a huge amount, but significantly, because this is big object that has an electric field difference from its sunlit side and its dark side moving through the plasmasphere of the Earth. And so with a supermoon, you get stronger tides. The moon is just closer to the Earth. It's reflecting more light to the surface. It's about 8% larger in apparent size and about 12% brighter. This one will be. And it's going to be nearly exactly as perigee. A supermoon is considered one when it's within 90% of its perigee. This one's at 99.7%, so it's nearly a perfect supermoon, meaning it'll be about 357,000 kilometers away from the Earth, and its apogee, for example, for the moon could be all the way out 420,000 kilometers or so. So it's going to be very close, very bright, very strong gravitationally, interacting with the plasmasphere of the Earth, effectively priming the Earth for greater geomagnetic activity. And we could have some supercharged sunspots right in that Earth-facing direct zone after 3I Atlas short-circuited them, because that is what it appears to be. We had 3I Atlas perform that superior conjunction. Right as it did so, we had tons of solar activity, clearly some sort of electromagnetic circuit change, causing these sunspots to really start to pump out and flare and explode. And that may continue forward into early November. And that's not all. This supermoon is also nearly conjunct the planet of disruption, Uranus.
はい、ではここでこのステファンさんの動画を一旦切らせていただきます。この後も非常に重要なこと言ってるんですけど、それはまた別の動画でお話します。今のお話の部分をまとめるとこちら。プラズマフィラメントが不安定化し、10月28日から29日に地球にぶつかり、不安定で活発的な地磁気状態になるというふうに話しています。この10月の29日、皆さん覚えてますでしょうか？ハーバード大学のアビー・ローブ教授が警告していた日になります。3I アトラスが太陽に最も近づく日ですね。近日点になります。アビー・ローブ教授はこの29日以降にもしかしたら3I アトラスがエイリアンの母船だった場合、地球の株の相場は崩れるから今のうちに何とかしな、そして休暇を取っておきなさいということをお話ししていました。ちょうどその時に現在太陽から放出されているその CME ですよね。これが28日、29日に地球にぶつかるということです。そして 3I アトラスが近日点に向かうにつれて地磁気活動がより乱れる。ですからこの動画を撮影している本日が2025年の10月25日ですが、どんどんですねその地磁気の活動がより乱れ始めているということです。そして11月の5日6日に太陽、地球、月が直線に並び、潮汐力が強くなる。潮の干満の差が、強くなるということです。地球は地磁気活動が活発化し、3I アトラスの影響で電磁気回路の変化が起こり、黒点を本格的に爆発させ始めたということで、やはりこの 3I アトラスがエイリアンの母船でないにしろ、太陽に何かしらの影響を与えていることは間違いがないはずです。 だから今回 CME の爆発が非常に大きい規模でですね、3回起こった。これから4回目が起こるかもしれない。そのようにですね、ステファンさんはお話をされていました。皆さんは今日の動画を見たことによってどのように感じましたでしょうか？今回の情報もですね、しっかりとした情報です。ソースがしっかりしていますから、なるほど、3I アトラスは現状そういう状態になっているんだ。よくね、300% 減速したとか止まったとかってあるけど、それはなかったんだなってことが分かりました。しかし、エイリアンの母船なのかどうかは分かりませんが、地球へ影響が全くないことはゼロです。現に CME の影響が地球にも届き始めている。そして太陽に影響を及ぼし始めているということも、これも事実になります。引き続きこの 3I アトラスについて正しい情報を皆さんにお届けしてまいりますので、ぜひチャンネル登録とグッドボタン、ハイプボタンもよろしくお願いいたします。それではまた他の動画でお会いしましょう。救世主ゴーシンでした。またね。